A light rain falls on the asphalt road in Pilanesberg National Park, South Africa, making the road slippery. A young lioness steps out from the bushes, her dark gold fur streaked with wet mud. She is not alone. The pride is standing across the road, watching her anxiously through the rain. The cubs are hissing softly, hoping their mother will return soon, while the large male stands behind her to protect the pride. The mother lion's eyes are shining with determination, for on the other side are the cubs waiting for her. Without looking, she sprints across the road, just as a tourist car is approaching. The screeching sound of brakes is deafening, but not enough to avoid the terrible collision. The impact echoes, causing the pride on the other side to panic and retreat, their eyes looking at their mother in fear. The lion falls to the wet road, breathing heavily, and then becomes still, red blood mixing with the rain. The open wounds oozed blood continuously, creating red streaks on the cold road. Two American tourists, Daniel Brooks and Marcus Green, rushed out of the car in a panic. Daniel knelt down, gently lifted the lion's head, checking to see if it was still breathing. Marcus shakily took out his phone, dialing the Pilanesberg National Park Rescue Center. His voice was broken with fear, describing the situation amid the pattering of rain on the car's hood. Daniel stood behind the lion, constantly looking at both ends of the road, preventing other cars from coming. His shirt was soaked, but his hands still covered the lion's large, motionless body. Marcus said urgently, "We just witnessed an accident, a lioness is seriously injured, we need help immediately." The operator reassured that the rangers would arrive within 30 minutes. Daniel took off his light jacket, placed it on the open wound to temporarily stop the bleeding. "Hold on," he whispered, "don't give up, the cubs are waiting for you on the other side." The cubs in the distance let out small cries, causing Marcus to choke and turn away. The two tourists tried to stay calm, watching the cold, rainy road for help. It was still drizzling when the Pilanesberg National Park ranger car appeared, its headlights illuminating the wet road. Elias Makona, a veteran ranger from the park, jumped out, carrying a special first aid kit. With him was a young colleague and veterinarian, Dr. Willem Jacobs. Elias put his hand on Marcus's shoulder, reassuringly, "You did the right thing, we'll save him." Dr. Jacobs pressed his stethoscope to the lion's chest, his brow furrowed as he listened to the weak heartbeat. "He's breathing, but he's in critical condition," he said, and injected an emergency dose of painkillers. Elias and his team spread out a special stretcher in the middle of the rainy road, preparing to move. Carefully, they lifted the lion onto the stretcher, blood still seeping from under Daniel's coat. Rain soaked his hair and shoulders, but no one cared, everyone focused on saving this life. Elias called the center, asking for the operating room and X-ray equipment to be prepared. The specialized ambulance sped away in the pouring rain, leaving the lion still waiting on the other side. Daniel and Marcus watched, their eyes shining with a faint hope. At the Pilanesberg Medical Station, the medical team was ready before the ambulance arrived. The lion was rushed into the emergency room, the bright white lights overwhelming the darkness of the rain outside. The X-ray machine worked urgently, the results clearly showing broken bones and internal injuries. One leg was severely broken, many ribs were cracked, the body was covered with open wounds. Dr. Jacobs said sternly, "We need a long surgery, there are no other options." Anesthetics were injected, surgical instruments were sterilized and ready under the cold light. Outside the window, light rain fell steadily, like the tense heartbeats of those waiting. The surgery began, the bleeding was stopped, the broken bones were splinted, each stitch meticulously closed the wound. Elias stood outside the room, his hands clutching his cap tightly, his eyes never leaving the operating room door. Daniel and Marcus sat side by side, silently praying for the animal they had just saved. Time passed slowly, only the sound of the drizzling rain mixed with the heavy heartbeat. After 5 long hours, Dr. Jacobs walked out, his face tired but his eyes bright. The surgery was successful, it's out of danger, he smiled with relief. The lion was placed in an iron resuscitation cage, fitted with a breathing device and an N4 to support it. Elias nodded slightly, silently thanking the two tourists for their timely actions. The first day after the surgery, it was still drizzling. The lion lay motionless in the resuscitation cage. The doctors closely monitored every vital sign, not taking their eyes off the monitor. Elias tenderly wiped the dried blood off its cold, wet fur. By the end of the day, the animal stirred slightly, its tired eyes opening to look around the medical room. A small tube was inserted, it drank sip by sip, its breathing gradually returning to normal. A weak roar sounded, moving Daniel to tears. On the second day, the medical equipment was gradually removed after its index stabilized. It struggled to stand up, its legs trembling but resolutely refusing to fall. A tray of fresh meat was placed in the cage, the scent making its ears twitch slightly. It ate slowly, its eyes brightening, life returning little by little. Marcus softly said, "It will live, Elias, I'm sure of it." Night fell, the sound of the rain outside lulled it into a restorative sleep. The lions outside the reserve still watched, waiting for the day it returned. Everyone knew, it had passed the most dangerous period. 2 weeks later, the incision had healed, leaving a few faint scars on its strong body. On a lightly rainy afternoon, it was brought into the large semi-wild pen in Pilanesberg. There was green grass, shade from trees, and the natural scent of wild grasslands. It took a deep breath, its eyes lit up, its steps more steady than before. Elias and the rangers observed through the camera, recording every action. A simulated hunting exercise was deployed, it charged forward with its returned strength. The roar echoed throughout the pen, making everyone choked with emotion. Its eyes were shining, eager to return to the waiting herd. Dr. Jacobs examined it carefully, confirming that its health was stable, with no further complications. Although the scars were still visible, it had returned to being a proud warrior. That night, under the dim moonlight, it lay listening to the gentle sound of rain outside the bars. The semi-wild cage is now a training ground, waiting for the day to reintegrate into nature. As they watched the lion lying recovering, Daniel and Marcus could not forget the eyes of the cubs waiting on the other side of the road. They understood that fragile boundaries like a road can also decide the lives of wild animals. Elias quietly said, "We cannot stop the rain, but we can make the road safer." The sound of rain falling steadily, like a reminder of the fragility of nature before the human world. And perhaps, love and responsibility are the solid bridge connecting the two worlds together.